Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sara.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Heartwork podcast. Sara and I kind of cut our prior episode talking about family and changing family dynamics. And I was sharing a little bit about my story and my experience with a side of my family on my mom's side that I thought was going to be looking a certain way like forever, and how much that's changed. And interestingly enough, so after that episode, Sara, I've been like, I have all of our family DVDs here with me in Iowa because my mom had brought them out when Alex and I were planning our wedding, because I distinctly remember this video of my dad and I singing like this song that we had loved for forever. If anyone knows Eraser, we sang this song called Fishes in the Sea. I don't even know if that's the name of the actual song. That's just how I remember it, because it was talking about fish swimming in the sea and whatever. So anyway, she had brought me out all our home videos so that I could go through them and look through them. And I don't remember if I had talked about this in the last episode, but I have been really like exploring Marisa between the ages of like 9 and 13, 10 and 13, around when my parents had shared that they were separating. My parents are getting divorced. And I have been really called to like kind of go back to that time. I don't know if anyone's ever, and this is we're getting in there a little bit today. Well, we're going there, I guess. So I actually went to like a shaman Reiki provider, and we did an egg limpia with me. So if anyone knows what a limpia is, it's about taking an egg, like this organic thing, and rubbing it over your body and having that egg actually take over. The intention is that it takes out some of the like negative energy and accumulation that you've had. And so I had just been feeling kind of bogged down, and I'm super curious about that stuff. I always love that, like that facet of spirituality in life. And so I had gone, and she had suggested that we do that. And I really was brought back to this time frame. And so I think this kind of all is like coming together very much. And so this is all kind of happening like cohesively, like universe, God is just bringing me into this time frame and space. And so I went down to these videos. I had a couple hours of free time, and I pulled the years of that age for me. And so I started watching the videos, and lo and behold, the first one I pulled up was my nonna, my grandmother, talking about the story of growing up in Italy during World War II, and the story that I was like sharing with our audience last episode. And interestingly enough, there were some nuances that when she had told me were not the way that she had shared it when she was younger, and probably also not dealing with some of the Alzheimer's and dementia, but super still similar in alignment. But even some of the things that she had shared in more detail, she was talking to the Sons of Italy in Philadelphia about this story and how she ended up really being brought to America. And yeah, like she was excited to go see her sister. But what I found was really interesting was a comment that she made about how her mother and father basically told her, like, family is family. Mm-hmm. And so you go there and you get your sister back here. But if you can't bring her back here, don't you dare come back alone. Mm-hmm. Like you stay there with her. Right? Like you don't leave her. Don't come back to this place if you're leaving her there, because she was also just working through a tough marriage and situation, and her own just life and expression. And that really brought me back to like, holy fucking shit, generational trauma, or like, again, assuming on generational expectation with things that you maybe didn't put on yourself, but like the way that I felt when I made the choice to like really officially leave New Jersey for a more permanent stance other than going away for school, and it being like, not you go there, you're never coming back. My parents they have not ever said that to me, but the energy around the situation of like, you're leaving, you're never coming back, you're leaving, we're never going to have the same closeness. You're leaving, it's not going to look the same way. We're going to have to travel for holidays. We can't just get together for a random dinner on a Tuesday. Like the amount of just starkness of like, this is like a cut to the family unit and the family cohesiveness. And in such an ironic way, because even before I left and moved here to Iowa, there were already cuts to the family cohesiveness, like on that side of our Italian heritage, mother's side of the family, that it just really like brought me back in that moment, listening to my grandmother telling her story and really recalling the details and hearing it from her voice as an adult
Mm-hmm.
compared to hearing the story as a child was really sad. Like I cried a lot watching those videos, transcending even beyond listening to my grandmother's story, just watching our family interact together, watching my sisters, like as the young ages that they were, again, from the perspective of me now grown as a 30-some-year-old woman compared to being 10, 11, 12, and also a teenager and a fucking brat. I called my mom after and I was like, I am so sorry. Because some of these videos, I mean, more so when I was like turning like 13, 14, I was like, I was a bitch. I was like, sweetheart, no, like you were just figuring out what teenage life was and hormones and puberty. I was like, that's no excuse. Like, I just wanted to go in there in the video and like grab my little sisters and be like, you guys are so cute. Like, I love you. Why didn't I like have all that same, kindness coming through my heart, like during that time where there was also just so much navigation around like our family unit changing and knowing that we were going to move and knowing that mom and dad weren't going to live together anymore and what was that going to look like, and just such an interesting, again, like experience to really go back. And this is like the thing that I love so much about photos and about videos and about having those things and being privileged to be able to watch them, because I love looking back at the window of where I've come from. What are the experiences that have shaped also who I am? And that self-discovery of like seeing it then and having a certain way that you remember it, and then like really watching it and seeing it in real time in that interaction. And why I love to like take videos and take pictures and have an honoring space to that and wanting to be able to share that with potentially a granddaughter who might be watching me tell my story or listen to our podcast someday, right? Like just the beautiful, like full circle moment. I have a very nostalgic side of myself for that. But just the continued reflection of knowing that in life, where we come from, our families, our cultures have a very profound effect on our heart, our emotional space, our emotional mental well-being, the way that we may show up for ourselves, the way we may choose to show up for others, and wondering why we might have certain triggers that we never really thought would have been triggers in that way, and just being able to continuously evaluate that and process that is a lifelong journey. And even sharing this, like, not that I'm terrified for this to go out into the world, but like this is such an intimate part of your life. Like doing heart work, sharing about that, being okay talking about it, and even just saying things out loud, talking into empty space and just putting it out there is very freeing and healing sometimes. And sometimes that's all it needs is just acknowledgement, awareness. That doesn't mean that blame has to be put on. It doesn't mean that you have to claim a victimness to it. It's more about just having awareness and an understanding of things. And I think it's the same thing that we help coach people with in health. Like our past is our past, and things that have happened to us or the accumulation of stressors in our life have changed our physical form or the way we show up, but that doesn't mean we have to carry it into the future. And it's more so bringing awareness to what has come to pass compared to putting blame. Well, I should have done things that way, or if only I had known this, I could have done things differently there. Like, yeah, there's 1,000 things you can go back and guilt shame yourself into thinking you could have or should have done. But all we have, as you have shared, Sarah, so many times, is literally this moment. And so what can we do right now? And how do we want to choose to walk into that next step? Because the thing you cannot control, like I cannot control how that side of my family is going to continue to interact, engage with me, engage with my mother, engage with my sisters. The only thing I have control over is one, how I process how I feel about it, because sometimes I might not be able to control how I feel about it or what emotions come up, but I can certainly work to understand them within myself and work to discover where they come from and what they can mean. And then also utilize that understanding to continue to make conscious, intentional decisions about how I want to lead myself through continuing to engage with that in my life going forward. So yeah, we just wanted to like come back on and continue to work that through and share about that, 'cause I felt like we left it a little open-ended. And I think one of the biggest gifts we can also give ourselves, like as we heal, is that like none of healing and none of our human experience and none of our human emotion has to be black and white or mutually exclusive to just that one feeling. Like you can feel so much pride and joy and happiness and contentment for where you are, while also continuing to mourn something that you may have thought it could look like or it could have been. You can have desires for what you want to create and cultivate in your own life and future and family unit moving forward, while also knowing that there's so many unknown factors and unpredictables. Like you can, and I know you've experienced this, like decide that there needs to be a boundary somewhere, and then one day decide that that's not in alignment anymore. Whether you don't want the boundary or whether you actually want to explore helping to break that barrier with the other person you've built a boundary around, or inviting them back into space if time and awareness has brought a capacity to understand and have more empathy and perhaps an awareness for where other people could have, I don't want to say shortcomings, but I feel like just the more that you do your own inner work, the more you can see also things in other people.
Mhm.
Not in like this ego, all knowing, like, oh, I have done my inner work. So, like, I know when you're being a people pleaser, and I know when you're doing this, and I know that you're just like not aware. Like, I feel like that's the dark side of doing personal development and work, is that you feel like you have this like heightened sense of understanding. And so you start interpreting everyone else's experiences. And that's not what doing the inner work is meant to be. But if you have a heart that's understanding yourself, you can utilize that grace in helping to extend that to other human beings that are also going through their own human experience, knowing that we all come to the table with a story and with traumas, a big capital T, little capital T's, cross the T's, dot the I's, like all different life stories, whether it feels like a lot, whether it feels fruity, whether it feels dark and heavy. It's just that grace that we can extend to each other. It still doesn't mean that we have to ever be doormats or sacrifice our own emotional well-being or emotional health for the sake of someone else going through their journey, but it also doesn't mean that that needs to be judged or not understood, or that there can't be compassion there. And I think that having more awareness of yourself and your emotions and your own triggers gives you the capacity to also have compassion and awareness for other humans that are experiencing similar things in their life, right? Because they also have their perspective and lens that they look through that situation with, which may be a completely different perspective and lens that you see it. Our mentor Pablo talks about this all the time. Like you can be standing on two opposite sides of a mountain, and one side could have snow and one side could have trees, and both those things could be true. But to one person, it's like, no, there's no trees, there's only snow.
Right.
And the other person's like, no, there's just trees, there's no snow. Both are true, both are real. It's just two different perspectives. If you walk around the mountain, you see the other landscape.
I love this conversation about just parents and trauma and life and all of that. And one of the things that I would contribute to this is as you navigate healing and as you navigate what it looks like for understanding more about yourself, they're like Marisa's talking about, you're gonna have emotions pop up that may feel very different and are gonna come up that are gonna feel very, may also make you feel like crap, like I don't even understand this emotion. Because I know that I've experienced honestly a lot of the anger, a lot of the resentment. There's been bitterness, there's been a lot of grief, a lot of sadness around certain situations that have happened in my family, and what has created and really has formulated a lot of who I am at the same time, right? And as I've navigated the healing of it, those things come up. And one of the best gifts that you can give yourself is to be as honest as you possibly can when those emotions come up, because the only one that can handle it is God, the universe. That if he put those emotions inside of you, they're there for a purpose and for a reason. And why would you want to hide them from him? And when I finally gave myself permission to express those emotions, and it wasn't like I needed to go express it to my neighbor, it was expressing it for myself, right? And like letting myself experience them and not hide them, because God can't do anything with you hiding your emotions away from him. He can deal with them and help heal them if you bring them to the surface. And the beautiful gift that comes from that allows you to be able to own it, to express it, and let it air itself out. Because, like everything you talked about, even just on the first part of this whole family journey, was not even necessarily, yes, you gave us circumstances about the situation, but it was what you were navigating as you were processing, working through the journey of that, and then now reflecting back on it. That's the same thing for mine. Like my family, I love my family to death. And when I was growing up, we were all very, very close in a beautiful way. Like in the moment, when I was in that moment, I was like, these are my best friends. Like my parents, my brother and I are very close now because we have done the healing work, honestly, separately, but we've done it because we've also been very close. But when you actually look back, and as I started to do some healing stuff, I realized that there was a lot of dysfunction in the way that our relationships had been built because of just trauma. And just because of life events that had happened at no fault to anybody at the end of the day, right? There's no fault to one person. There's no blame, like you said. But there were things like choices that were made that created consequences and then created situations that then bled into how I perceived a situation as a child, how my brother perceived a situation as a child, and also how my parents did. And you guys heard early on, if this podcast, if you listen to it, I had a huge like health crisis when I was 10 years old that formulated a lot of how I saw the world and also how my parents did. I also had a sexual trauma happen when I was 6 years old that, due to a decision made by my parents, put me in a situation that was not safe. So as I have navigated a lot of that. Like I actually found out about some of that when I was 33, and I remember thinking, not the health side, but the trauma, sexual trauma side of it. I remember it where it was like literally thinking like, holy crap, like I've gone my whole life without realizing this. But when you start peeling back pieces, like you remember things, but you were just so young, right? And when that moment came, because a lot of my life from just the health crisis part, I became a human in my family where I was almost more of the mother and was almost more of the leader of our family. At least my perception of that was. And I felt like I couldn't be a emotionally vulnerable human. I had to be really strong for everybody else, because if I was vulnerable or emotional, or I had something going on physically or like health related, it meant that everybody else was affected and that everybody else then had to navigate their own emotions or feelings around that. So if I just kept it all into myself, then nobody else would be affected. So anytime anything was going on, I'm fine. I'm good. Like, why are you asking? Like put this beautiful, crazy big wall up around myself. And it's like, well, now, and then because of it too, I didn't want to acknowledge that maybe I had something wrong, but I also wanted love and adoration and value, right? So it then was really easy for me to go to the results and transaction side of things, because if I pursued performance, it then meant that my dad was proud of me. It then meant that my mom was even more closer to me because we were really close friends and I could communicate that way. So like I created this like rhythm and movement in our family to where it's like this became this persona that I carried, not only from 10 years old, but into this beautiful life that I now have. And when you were talking about like memories of childhood, just as like almost a side note, I literally only have happy childhood memories 9 years and younger. At 10 years old, so much of my childhood became a production. I started playing basketball. It became a performance. It was all of my memory now then turns into like what I was doing to be able to perform or create something, which is so wild. So like when you start to do this journey of going inward, I had to come face to face with that little girl that wasn't able to be a little girl, that I didn't give the permission to be this little girl. And she then protected me. She kept me safe. She was helping me perform, but yet at the same time wasn't able to be this light and this creative force and all of that. And so that inner work is such a beautiful gift, but it also, those emotions are not easy sometimes coming up against. And then when I was talking about like family boundaries, because I know to be true, when you set a boundary and you let them do their work, the evidence of my life and what's happened in my life up to this point is truth that they will do their work. You just don't know the timing of it. So when I was 33, started doing a lot of this, I started doing a lot of this work when I was 31. I'm 41, so it was almost 10 years ago, which was crazy. And I found out, like, right when I first started doing this, like I said, 33, there's that big trauma that happened when I was 6. And I all of a sudden got really angry at my parents. And then I started doing a lot of this work, and I'm like, I don't understand. You were supposed to keep me safe. You're supposed to keep me protected. Why did you put me in that situation? And so you start to have these emotions around a decision that was made for you that you had no control over. And it was really devastating to my adult self that was processing this childhood version of herself. And it was wild because in that moment, then it really became, I still see you as my parents, but also at the same time, I don't trust you right now because I'm navigating some of this. I don't want to be in your presence because I'm navigating this, like I, but also there's Thanksgiving and Christmas. What do we do? Like, do we hang out? They have a boat? Do I see you? I don't even know. Like, when I'm in your presence, I can't even look at you in the eye right now. Like, it was so much of that wild journey. It's like, I didn't even know how to navigate it. But then through the process of, thank God for like literally our heart coach, Pablo, to really help me just navigate a rhythm of forgiveness, a rhythm of trust, and not for my parents, but for myself and for my journey of what I needed to know that I was loved and cared for in that space. And then because of that, there were boundaries, truly. Like there became a point of my life, these past 4 years, I have not spent one-on-one time with my parents until truly just 2 weekends ago. But it was because of, I'm like, I don't feel safe in your presence energetically, in a physical way. And so I need to put this boundary up that my husband and I are going to come, or we're going to come with other friends if I'm going to be in your presence. And so there literally became a place where I put these things in position because I knew that's the only way I could be in their vicinity and outside of just spending good time with them. And then also, like, during this journey, we ended up having my brother and I had some like straight up, very honest conversations with them about what scenarios needed to look like and how we felt about certain stuff and we've experienced, which was also very beautiful. More healing for us, probably. I know it was healing for them too, but regardless of how they reacted, it was for us. I had a very poignant conversation with my mother last summer that was itself a boundary because it was a conversation where I was able to beautifully and very upfront talk to her about, I feel like I've already grieved you as my parent. I feel like I have already grieved you as a human, and now I see you as more of a human being, not necessarily even as my parent. And that may, for those that y'all are listening right now, that may seem so freaking foreign. And this is my journey. This doesn't have to be yours. You can have the most beautiful relationship with your parents. That's amazing. And I love that for you. Like, this doesn't have to be something you have to navigate. This was just something that I navigated because I felt there was so much grief when it came to the journey of my family and what it could have been. The grief was more of what I didn't know to be true when it came to parents and to the family that I thought that I could have had outside of me trying to be the mom and me trying to take over in the perception that I had built for my life. And so I was able to have this beautiful conversation with her. It was very, very God-led. She received it in an incredible way. There was lots of tears. There was lots of, not even necessarily, there was definitely apology, but I told my mom, I'm like, I don't even need your apology right now. I just need you to hear me. This is not about you even saying anything. This is just about me holding this space and airing what has been going on in my heart. And also, I know these conversations can be really hard. So if you're navigating them, if you ever need anybody to talk to, I just understand. But it's been so freaking cool. I actually just told, and you and I have talked about this, like, because of the work that now I have done and created the intention behind, have done the journey of going back to that little girl when she was 6 years old and 9 years old and 10 years old and through my teenagehood and all of that, and really been very specific about some of the boundaries I have set up, and just continued to do the work. I all of a sudden this past spring had a little bit of this nudge to re-engage with my parents in a way that I hadn't engaged before, or in a long time, I should say. And I felt the nudge. I didn't necessarily immediately take action on it, but I felt this like, huh, I feel like I could do this and be okay. And I told my husband, literally told you as we were Marco Poloing back and forth, told Pablo, and I was like, I'm not really sure what this looks like. And then my husband and I actually went to the lake this spring with them for the first time. It was just kind of us four and really just very easy, simple, energetically. There wasn't any big conversation or anything like that, but I felt something start to shift in my heart. I'm like, okay, I can actually, I want to be in their presence and just be there. It was literally the first time I felt like I could really, truly also look at my mom in the eyes and have this, just be in her presence and not feel like I had to do anything. And then we just got back from vacation, and my mother actually, the first time ever, I actually invited her to watch our animals while we were gone and stay at our house, and she said yes. And so that happened, and then I came back, and she's like, "I'd really love to hear your trip. Would you like to go to the farmers market?" This would have been literally the first time I've spent one-on-one time with my mom outside of small, little, teeny tiny interactions, but one-on-one time with my mom for over 4 years outside of just group setting. And I was like, I'd actually think I'd be down for that, because I also had very clear, I've done the work up to this point, not only in my own heart, but also in the place to where the boundaries were set. I knew what was not going to be talked about. I knew what I was not willing to go through because those things had been there. And it was a beautiful exchange of space, time, energy, conversation. I really enjoyed it. I have not immediately gone back and like text her back like, "Oh my God, I had so much fun," we were both able to truly just enjoy that time and that presence. And I'm very hopeful for just the continued evolution of what this now relationship can look like, because I've done the healing work. Regardless if she ever does her work, it's not up to me, but I can only trust and believe that the work that I've done and the boundaries that I've created are helping her see the truth in her own life, that she can go on her own journey. And if we so collide, then great. And that's the same for my dad at the same time. And so I say all that in just conjunction with the stuff that we've just been talking about. It's such a beautiful gift. The emotions that we have are there for a reason, for a purpose. Don't hide from them. And if there is a time and a season for boundaries, even if they maybe feel very foreign and very hard and make you really question because you've given of yourself in so many ways, the boundaries basically create a space of time and energy that you may not have ever created. But I know it can feel like you're almost ripping a piece of your soul and making you worry that you're hurting somebody else's feelings, or that you're creating this abyss in a relationship or whatever it may be. But if it is what your heart is being led to do, trust it, because you truly never know what then's going to happen. It's taken time for me to get to this point, but I could never have forced this to happen. And this is what healing looks like for me, to actually then spend time with my mother, where I felt so much anger and grief over like a few short years ago. So
And
healing
also,
is
I
beautiful.
feel like how do I want to say this? It's almost like the release of control over how someone else is going to respond
Yep.
to having that boundary.
Hmm.
Like for a long time, I mean, yeah, just to be completely honest and vulnerable, like planning our wedding was hard. For the sense of, not that my mom didn't know that I was here and engaged and getting married, but just what that had represented, right? Like, okay, even deeper roots are now growing in another space, in another place and time. Not that she held on to this like false hope or dream that I would move back, but just what that represents, right? And so I would notice when I would call, or she would call, or she would ask me, because she was genuinely so thirsty to want to know like how it was going and what was going on. But I would start chatting about it or talking about it and sharing, and you could hear like almost the I don't want to say the pain, but just like the heartache of feeling like missing out on that part because of the attachment that it had to me not being there planning it compared to being out here planning it. And same thing, there was a time where she came out here to visit and we decided to go drive to like 45 minutes away to like a bigger metropolis and like mall area in Iowa. And it was like one of the intentions was to try and find a pair of shoes to wear on wedding day. And so we went to a couple different stores and couldn't find it. And we were just talking about planning and other things. And she had made a comment like, I just, I don't understand. Like, how is this? What do you mean you already have the plates picked out? What do you mean you already have this taken care of? What do you mean that this is already done? Like, it's like the whole wedding is already planned already. And it's like, I just looked at her and I said, Mom, we've been engaged a year at this point. Our wedding is in 7 months. Like, all this stuff got done and had to get done. It's just felt like your presence in it wasn't fully there because you could hear, I could feel your emotion coming through when it would get talked about. And this is a really beautiful and special time. And I'm already still navigating my own guilt about not doing this close to my family. Like, I'm the bride, he's the groom. Like, this is such a special day for both of us. I want to share in the fact that this is so super special with my sisters and my mom and all that, like, fun, femme energy around, like, this being a day that I wanted to feel, like, dressed up and just, like, just so fully like in this wonderful magical essence of like cultivating this beautiful space and environment where Alex and I get to share our love in front of each other and our like loved ones. That putting a boundary around, well, sometimes like I choose to end the conversation early because it's making my response to your response is like bringing up those feelings that I still am actively working through in the same way that you were like, I am actively processing this right now.
Mhm.
And I don't know what it is, but I can't process it with you.
Exactly.
Maybe there's a day where I can later, like a conversation that you had in that summer, like that conversation I had with my mom in Von Mar's shoes department, saying like, I have missed your presence. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm here and I want to buy you the shoes and I want to do this. And I'm like, fine, I don't care about buying or the cost of anything. I just want you, pure, you, just you. Tell me that you just miss me and wish that you were here versus getting tight-lipped and quiet about it. Like, share with me what you're feeling because then I can share with you, I feel that fucking same way. And I just want to like, let's just acknowledge that. It's because it's coming from a place of love. Like, it's because we love each other so much that we miss that aspect of itself. Both things can be true. We can miss it. I can miss being home and having that like constant contact and closeness in proximity while also loving that I'm here in Iowa, like living my best little life with my husband and our dog and our people here too. It doesn't, the only reason you miss it so much is because you love it so much, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to make any decision about it, but you can acknowledge those feelings. And I think that's where sometimes we can get caught up is that we're so committed to the story we tell ourselves
Hmm.
that we don't just acknowledge the way that we feel about that story. And maybe that would literally just be the bridge that would cover that gap. So it's hard, but you have those conversations and then they can be tough conversations. And then you have new feelings that come up about it. And maybe they're a little less intense next
Hmm.
time. Or maybe it brings other stuff to the surface. But that's again, it's like it's the beautiful yin and yang of the human experience. And the beautiful, messy part of navigating the world with other people that are also just navigating the world. Like, yeah, there may be people out there that have ill intent, but the people that are close to you, if you try to know them, if they are working to be open with you, I still try and assume positive intent, no matter what. Like, I know that you are just doing the best that you can with the feelings and the emotions and the knowledge that you have. And yes, I can create a space where I may need to protect my own energy from certain things that you're experiencing, or I also may want to protect you from the energy that I'm experiencing, but I can't continue to carry what you're experiencing and feeling as a result to a different choice that I'm making. And that was something that was really hard for me, was to, while I'm also processing my own feelings and guilt about going or about choosing something different or doing something different, I can't assume the guilt of her doing that, because then that can very quickly keep you in this cycle where you don't feel, I don't want to necessarily say like unsafe, but emotionally not settled, in the same way that you were not going to feel emotionally settled trying to keep that closeness with your parents in a period in time where you needed to have closeness and feel safety and provide that for yourself.
Right.
We have to add something to close this. I don't know if there is a close, y'all. Like, this is hard work. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and it doesn't always, we don't share this stuff because there needs to be an outcome, or because you need to find a solution, or because you need to have 100% understanding of everything that you're going through in all the different stages of life at all times.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's literally just this. It's just, again, it's the acknowledgement, it's the awareness. And sometimes you just spit it out, and it doesn't mean you have to do anything with it. Maybe you revisit it later. Maybe you don't. Maybe it shows up one day when you smell a familiar smell, or have a familiar sight, or cook something different. But this is life. This is discovery. This is exploration.
So thank you for joining us on another episode of the Heartwork podcast. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to lead with heart in your business and life.
If you enjoyed this, subscribe so you never miss a release, rate our show, leave us a review, get on our VIP email list, and join our exclusive Facebook group, The Heartwork Life, to plug into our community and learn from us and other heart-led entrepreneurs on a weekly basis.
We look forward to chatting with you next time.
Bye!